you been?
I've been good. I'm tired, but I'm good. I'm
No, that's
good.
relatable. That's deeply relatable.
Red, Red Guardians here. So, welcome back to the show.
Thank you much.
Just
Thank you
tell
much.
everyone
It
who
is
you
wonderful to
are.
be back.
Yes,
I
it's a
am
throwback Tuesday. Just let everyone know who you are and what you do.
uh, I am Jaws Blake. I am a painter, a videographer, a podcaster. I'm a cat dad. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff.
My door is closed because I'm a pet mom
I
because we
know.
have five cats and one dog because the other dog passed.
I got one asleep
So
right here.
I don't even open the door because they'll walk everywhere. I'm still finding white paw prints on my floor
Oh,
from the last time my cat stepped on paint. I don't know where she stepped on the paint from, but I'm still cleaning it on my floor.
ugh, that's the worst.
Yes, and they were walking on top of my desk, and I had all the stuff on the floor, and now I'm missing my iPad. So for my tablet. So that's I keep them outside.
They just love chaos. That's what it is. They love chaos.
Yes, they do. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So how have things changed between then and now?
Uh, I won't say I've been painting more because I'm always painting like crazy. I published a book, an art book, which I'm very happy about. I'm glad it got to you. I was super excited about that. Um, Mostly I've just kind of been focusing on trying to just go beyond the stuff that I was doing before. I think like when you've been an artist for a long time, you worry about like repeating yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and so like you stress out. It's like I already did this, I can't do this again. It's like people are just happy to see you make stuff, honestly. So,
Right,
but yeah.
right. I mean, you definitely have your own, I would say, your own distinct style. And I mean, what you do, I mean, you do a lot of amazing work. And I do want to talk about the book
Mm.
and what the book is about. But you also talk a lot about your culture as well in your work. Do you still find that as an influence in your work, or do you sometimes stray away from it?
I definitely stray away from it sometimes. Sometimes you just kind of want to just make something. You want to make something and it has no deep authentic like roots to anything. It's just like I was sleeping and it hit me and I was like I got to get up and write this down or scratch something on a pad or get up in some cases in the middle of the night to paint something. And you just do it, you know? I definitely feel like I try to be connected to like my ancestors and like my roots and all that stuff, but I feel it kind of happens unconsciously even when I'm not trying to do it. So that is my non-answer answer.
Right. Well, I mentioned it because I had previous talked about it before with a previous artist, female artist, and talking about how, when people find out you're Latino and then they're like, oh, so you must make art, but they assume that you do Latino art. Do
Everybody
you
thinks I'm gonna
ever
make like
feel,
Day of the Dead work. Yeah, they always
yeah,
assume.
do you ever feel pressure to having to do that kind of work consistently?
Um, Not anymore. Not as like an older artist, I guess. When I was younger, absolutely. Like I only thought I was going to. The only work I thought that would ever get featured in anything was gonna have to be like this, like super, 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 like special Independence Day of whatever country in Latin America was going on, or some festival, or Day of the Dead, or something like that. And like you slowly start to realize as you learn about more artists, even from like our background, that like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them just made work and it was reflective of just the life they were living, but it wasn't forced, you know?
Right, right. Do you feel like because everything going on right now that in the world that kind of influences whether we talk about these things or not in our art?
I think people are oftentimes worried about getting in trouble for talking about certain things. Like, there's definitely points where I had contracts with. It's always booty. He's right.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely points where like I had contracts with like say like a company like I had a contract with a company in China, and so I was worried all the work that I was going to be making outside of working with them while I was working with that company was somehow going to like negatively affect our standings because I didn't know what their politics were. So I was like, I don't know. I don't want to ruin this thing that this contract I just got. But
Right,
like,
right.
you kind of just have to just go for it. Like, everybody says get the bag, but I'm like, you will get it when you get it, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
really mess it up
Right,
without going
right.
crazy. Like, a casual thing you do is not gonna be it.
Right, right. Do you feel, well, I kind of want to touch on that what you just said, get in the bag.
Right.
Do you feel that that's more important than, you know, the work, or is the work more
No,
important than
the work
getting
is a
the bag?
million times more important. The work is
There's
so
people out
much
there who
bigger.
solely make work just to make money. And I was talking about this before with my last guest about quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And then there's quantity over quality. And do you feel that they can be a middle ground? And I feel like yes and no. Yeah, quality is key at the end.
I I think it kind of this is such a bad answer. I think that it kind of just depends, honestly. Like I think the quality is the most important. But
Right,
to other people, they have these aspirations that they feel they want to get out financially from these things. I'm always trying to tell people who ask me similar questions that there are a lot of institutions that are not made specifically for people like us to
mm-hmm.
do extremely well in. Like they're not. There's a reason why they have programs and grants and all these things that are very specifically made so that we have a place to get them because a lot of the original programs were not made for us. So
Right.
sometimes you're killing yourself and you're putting all this effort into it and like it's just are you still enjoying it? Are you still feeling fulfilled from it? Do you feel like this is the best work you're making? Sometimes is more important because you can constantly be hustling and still not find success, but in the same extent like it depends on what you consider to be success.
Right, right. Oh yeah, definitely. Because success, I think, is going to look different for every person. Success doesn't necessarily mean that you you live this glamorous lifestyle off your art. For me, success is that I'm making art and that I'm experimenting and I'm enjoying what I do. Because I think sometimes when people have that fear of, you know, they're doing the same thing all the time, that they don't want to turn their passion into something that they end up hating, like a job.
Yeah. I think a lot of artists have still have kind of a I think a lot of artists who work digitally are oftentimes worried that their intellectual property is not theirs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's that whole
Mm-hmm.
aspect where it's like you can work somewhere, have like a nice big check and do all this stuff, but then there's a possibility that everything you come up with no longer belongs to you. Which I
Right.
often think like I don't have to worry about that because I do a lot of physical painting. I do murals, I do all this stuff. So it's one of those it feels like it's less of a fear of something I have to kind of worry about, but I sympathize with a lot of people who have I don't know, they're chasing money
Mm-hmm.
and I agree with you. Like I think the biggest achievement through all the contracts and all the checks and all these things that I've gotten through painting all these years, My biggest achievement, in all honesty, is that when I imagine something, I can paint it. And I don't
Right,
even
right.
think about it. There was that time that so many artists I know come across where, like, you have all this inspiration, but you can't manifest it. And it just
Mm-hmm.
beats the crap out of you for so long until you eventually get to the point where you're like, I'm comfortable with how I draw fingers. I can
Right.
move on. I can move on. That, you know what? Maybe that ear's a little smaller. It's fine. I don't care. I don't care
Right,
anymore.
right. Maybe success is getting that left eye right.
Pretty much. I mean,
Making it
or
match the other one.
just like ah. You just, you're standing there with your pencil and your pencil as you hold it, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right, no, it's good, it's good now, it's good now. Just let the rubber.
Right.
You finally let go of the rubber eraser. Like, all right, I'm walking away. I can't put myself through this
Like,
anymore.
now you have been in the game for a while and you have come out with several books. How do you measure your own success?
I guess I don't really know. Sometimes my success scares me, if that makes any sense. Like whenever I start to do really well, like I get very frightened by the idea slightly of it because I know how hard I work to get there and I'm like, "Ah, I got to keep working like that forever? I got to work harder now? How do I do that?
Yeah.
I did everything I possibly could to get this far." Um I feel good about it sometimes. Sometimes it's depressing at the same time because I wonder had I had reached it 5 years earlier, where I would be now. You know that whole time machine thing in your head, where you're like, if I had just mastered like fingernails, just perfectly, or mixing colors, or the ability to just ask for a sale, you
Right,
know,
right, right.
I would have. Where would I be now? How would that work if I hadn't stopped to like pet this kitten and gone to the art store before it closed? I could have picked up the perfect tube of paint. Could have changed my
Right.
life, you know.
The Beard King art said, I think as artists, we have to get in touch with the business end of things. For me, it's important to self produce, even if it's much harder. Yeah, I think we definitely have to get into the business end of things. I mean, technically, we people, like us, we are our own curators or our own art dealers. You have to kind of know that business end. You just can't be like, buy my painting and that's it. I mean, there's like,
Yeah, no.
there's more to it. It's definitely, it's hard, especially a lot of artists tend to be introverts and stuff like that. So how do you kind of get around those issues?
I made up a character. Genuinely, I
Really?
genuinely made up a persona. So when I go to shows, my old persona a long time ago, before I moved back up to Maryland, and I more got to embrace my my heritage a lot better because there's a bigger community, there's all that stuff. It was in North Carolina, and it was just kind of felt like I was on like an island by myself. So I went by Jay as a painter, and Jay as a painter, that dude was cool. He didn't get nervous. He wore like scarves, and he was awesome. It was like in summer he wore scarves. He was that type of guy. Um, but yeah, it was just something silly. It was silly things like that though. But I realized I needed to, if Juara Blake could not be this guy who could just kind of be comfortable and like not talk like this when he talked to people and actually like speak up and like stick his chest out a little bit and stuff like that, then I needed to kind of come up with someone that I knew was able to do that. So he became my promoter, you know? And eventually I kind of got over it, but sometimes you just have to take yourself out of it a little bit. You have to kind of separate yourself from it. Because, like, the painter in me wants to paint something insane, and the reason behind it sometimes is just madness. But the person who wants to buy something from me wants a deep discussion about it. And so, you know, I have to then actually either come up with something really smart and brilliant to say, which is to lie, lie about whatever it is. Or I just have to kind of just roll with it and be confident that they're talking to me because they really liked what I made, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to impress them anymore. Like I'm just trying to be human with people.
I yeah, that's not a bad idea because I'm either when I first meet people, I'm really really shy.
Yeah,
I could be really shy and I get really quiet, but I'm learning. That's why I always have my husband with me because he's really good with talking to people. I mean, he's just naturally good with talking with people. So I kind of just mirror him, but in my own way. Because other times I'm just gonna stand there or make some weird noise. I'll just be like, moo, and then run.
I like it. I like it.
Because I get like real social anxiety, but I'm getting better at it thanks, Instagram and everybody here talking to me. So, and in my job too, I have to talk with people. So I've definitely gotten better at it. And I think that's the biggest thing is just we just got to go and just talk to people, know that a lot of artists are probably in the same boat that we are in. And
Yeah.
it doesn't even matter the age because it doesn't matter your age. If you're just starting out and you're 50 and you're starting out and you're 21, I bet that you have more in common than someone who's been in the game for years.
Well, I always try and tell people like Georgia O'Keeffe didn't start painting until she was like 70. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like you have to realize that like you are not starting too late. You know what I mean? You're
Mm-hmm.
not starting too late. You're not. No one ever thinks they're starting too early, but you're not starting too late. You're never. You're never like your path is gonna change so many times that it's okay to like start something and then go, I'll come back to this, and then start
Yep.
something. I do it like 5 times, and then I'm like, so I've got like all these projects I have to do now. Um, but it works, you know. It's one of those. It's one of those fun little parts where you will figure out how the pieces go together. You just kind of have to give yourself enough time
Yeah,
and be forgiving
definitely.
of your failures. Like they're just normal things. Most of your failures,
Right.
people don't even know you failed. Like they know because you told them. That's it.
Right. Right. If you say nothing, they have no idea.
Damn, girl, how'd you come up with this blue? And you're like, just, I was just doing my thing. It was cool. Don't worry about it.
Lie through your goddamn teeth.
Mind
They
it.
don't know.
Just don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. It's
Oh, I meant to
fine.
put that blue there. It's such a deep meaning behind it.
Absolutely.
Like, no,
It
you don't.
drips.
It's not.
The drips are on purpose. Those extras, those are on purpose.
It is on purpose.
It's the heart line. It's the heart
Right.
line.
This paw prints is because it was a collaborative piece with my
Okay.
cat.
I, you
I was
know,
trying to capture their
I
essence
just
on
hold their
my
little
canvas.
feet and then I clean them and then I send them off. Like,
Well,
no,
speaking about putting things together, can we talk about how you put this together? Let everyone know what
this
this is,
one?
what it's about, and how you came up with it.
So, the funny thing about this, the first thing that people typically ask me is like, why did you call it Murder by the Dozen?
It's a
And
beautiful art.
Murder by the Dozen, so a crew of crows is called a murder.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are 12 of them, so that's a dozen. It's less clever than it sounds. Um, and then I just kind of made like a weird kind of font strangeness. And then I started making all these paintings, I just kind of went with it. Just holding up random stuff. Um, and yeah, it was like these giant paintings though. I don't think people like realize. I think the funniest thing that I always found out from talking to people who were fans was they had no idea the scale or size of anything or how long it takes you to make stuff. Because somebody was like, I remember I had like videos that used to be like, I have like a YouTube channel called Painter Files.
Right.
It's got like 850 something art videos on it. It's insane. Um, and I remember somebody told me once, they were like, these are cool, but like maybe you could like edit them down to like a minute. And I'm like, do you know it takes me a month to do these? I'm not breaking this down to a minute. You watch that video.
You will watch every
You watch
video.
every video. I better see you in my subscriber list. I better see them all go up by one. It was just crazy. But that's the thing though. People don't understand. Like if you're not one of those people who like make stuff and you don't necessarily understand that like these are how these things come together. So, yeah, I did 12 of those. And I loved like 75% of it. Just because some were small, and then for the last one, which is the one you showed, let me show you. The last one is actually like a good 3 feet big, on
Oh
all
wow.
sides, and it's like this huge piece. And all the rest of them are just monochromatic, so they don't have any. They have no colors on them, except for the last one, which I was like, it's got to be. I got to do it. I got to put color in it, and it was just really cool. I made this one just out of like stencils, like it's all stamps I made that one.
Oh yeah, I think I remember you had some videos of you carving it
Yeah,
and
and it was just
stamping
it
it.
was
Yeah.
very difficult actually. I wasn't. I used to do a lot of like printings and stuff, and I kind of got away from it, partially because we had moved from my wife and I. We had an apartment about 10 years ago, and we bought a condo. Condo's carpeted. The apartment was hardwood floors. So you're carving all the time. It's very easy to like clean that up.
Yeah.
On carpet, it's a little more difficult. So I was like, I gotta cut back on this. I gotta figure this out. I still go back to it, but I have like a little area now that I do it in. So, and thankfully, my fingers are much more intact now than they were then, because you'd miss. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I remember that in printmaking class.
I got hot glue prints, hot glue burns right now.
Oh,
You
oh
know,
yeah, I definitely have that.
yeah. So it's always
I've
something.
had I have spray foam permanently stuck on my clothes,
Absolutely.
on my floor in here. Like good thing for the floor that I have in the studio is like a peel and stick. So like if it gets messy, we have extras. I can just take the thing off and just replace it.
That's a really smart idea, actually.
We have it because we have hardwood under,
Mm.
and I'm like, I don't want to mess up the hardwood, so because that's even more expensive to replace
That's
than a peel and stick piece.
that anxiety for that makes me more nervous than when I was a younger artist worrying about painting on like a white canvas and just going like, what's the
Mm-hmm.
first stroke? What do I do right now? I hope I don't mess it up. I'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, that's how I feel
Mm-hmm.
about like the floor, where I'm just like, let me roll this tarp out, let me tape it down, let me get the
All
cat
right.
off of it while I'm trying to tape it down.
So
Mm.
how long did it take you to make this book?
Uh,
Because I
I,
remember when you started, it was a while.
I think the actual paintings, I want to say took me about 3 months, and then to actually put it all together and edit it and chop it up and make sure I could get. I made it a really big point that I wanted this one to be really accessible to people, because like a lot of my art books, they're art books, like they cost money. There's
Mm-hmm.
no real way to get around that. Um, they cost me money, so they cost other people money. Um, and I mean, I had like this big coffee table book, which is like my first book, and that was like $100, and it was great, and I sold a bunch of them. But I was like, I really want to make. I remember somebody was like, you don't have like a cheaper version, and I was like, of this book, no, but I'll make
No,
another one
right?
later that will be. So I made sure to make this one like $15. So I was like, every show I go to, every event I do, I can just have this on hand. It can cost me a lot to make it, doesn't cost a lot to have it. And then I just kind of went that way with it. And it felt good. So it took me about a year altogether to put it all in. Because I got sick a couple times, and then I got distracted on those 5 other paintings I'd been putting
Yep.
off, and but it all worked out. I mean, I feel really proud of it. I think it's probably one of the more. I love the paintings in it. I think my favorite one is probably the girl with the 2 heads because it was just like a fun little funky painting that I wanted to do, and like I just really just loved it.
Oh yes.
She's so weird, but it's just kind of perfect. I love stacking them. I don't know why. It's just something that's always been really fun to me. And it was just, I don't know, it's just really like, I feel like when I make good work, I feel like I'm, I feel like I'm allowing myself to make something beautiful.
Right.
Which, like,
Well,
I definitely look at some of my work and I'm just like, mm, mm.
do you have a piece that's your absolutely favorite?
I think it changes every year. That's kind of the problem with like making stuff all the time. Like you just kind of you're like, oh man, that was really good, and you take that breath and you're like, I did it, and then like you fight the urge to go, what are you gonna do next? And you're like, no, we're gonna sit on this. We're gonna sit on
Right.
this for at least a day.
Right.
Enjoy
Right.
this
Right.
accomplishment. I had to get to that point where I was like, I was painting maybe like I think I almost painted like 300 paintings in one year, which is just
Wow.
I felt like I was losing my mind at that point because I was like, no, I got to do this. And I had like, I literally had several paintings sitting around that I was doing little bits and pieces in. While one was drying, I was working on another one, and it was just so much that I think I kind of just blanked out at some point about it. I think my favorite one that I did this year is probably like the engine ones. Like the one behind
Okay.
me right now is one of my favorites. My my mom's dad was in the military and he fought in World War II and he worked on his cars and stuff and the car that he had was like a Chevy, old Chevy, and that's the engine of that's the engine. It's a green engine, which I thought was really cool, and so I
Oh.
painted that, and then because I have no self control, I had to paint a bunch of other surreal crap around it that didn't make any sense. And it went that way, and I think it turned out really beautiful. Like I'm really proud of it. But it was one of those things. I had actually done a red one, and the red one uh, was a slightly different engine. But this guy had got me to do a commission for him so he could hang it in his garage. So I did that one, and I liked it so much. And then my mom told me the story about my grandfather, and I was like, I want to make a painting about this. And so it's probably one of the ones that probably means the most to me right now. But as it goes into the closet of forgotten paintings of like 200 or so paintings in there, it probably won't exist as soon as it goes in there. My brain will just go, nope. And then I'll just keep going.
Yeah, I know that thing. Although I don't do 200, that's a lot. Because being working with spray foam, I don't have that time.
Mm.
Because I have to wait. I use the spray foam and then I wait for it to cure, which takes about a day or more because it depends on the weather, the environment, and the studio. If it's too cold, it might shrink a little. If it's humid, it might expand. So it took me forever to find the right foam to play with. But I like how you talked about putting, that story, about your dad or your grandfather, right?
Mm.
Into your piece. Now, do you usually put like family stories in your work?
Sometimes there's like recipes, which is like such a strange thing to say. Sometimes there's recipes. Sometimes there's little stories about like life experiences that are in them. More so, it's kind of funny because it's definitely one of those things where it kind of happens organically. Like I don't really plan it,
Hmm.
and
Right.
then it's just like this thing that's just alive, and I try to just kind of work off of it more than work into it, if that even makes any sense.
No, makes sense.
Um, yeah, so that's kind of how it kind of comes together. I try to put stuff in there. Like if I'm sitting in front of a blank canvas and I'm just staring at it, I'm sitting in this chair and I'm turned around and I'm just looking at that thing and it's just blank and I'm just like, what am I gonna do? What's gonna, and I'm doing like everyone. I'm just kind of scrolling and I'm like, it'll come to me. I've got music playing and I'm just like, any day now, it'll come, and then I'll run across like an old photo and I'll remember something and I start kind of I'll sketch it in my mind and then I'll get up and I'll just start putting it on like the canvas. And I think the hard part about that sometimes is it's like a full painting and I have to kind of take it backwards in order to start it and then kind of layer on it to build all the things for it.
Have you ever found yourself stuck on a piece and years later be like, oh yeah, now is the proper time for me to work on this?
I have a giant painting in my living room that I painted when I was like 22. I'm about to be
Wow.
42.
Wow.
um, and sometimes I look at it and I go, I could fix that part right there. I'm like, I could just, and I'm just like, stop it. You don't even paint like that anymore. I'm like, you're if you start doing this, you're never going to ever finish a painting again. So I try not to do that, but there's definitely ones where I put them to the side. If I have a painting that's taken me that I'm like stuck and I can't figure out something, sometimes I'll put it to the side and plan on coming back to it. I sometimes do, unless it goes in the forgotten place, and then yeah, and then I
Go to the
do.
sunken place.
Basically, I mean, if it's insane. Like one day I'll take a photo of it and send it specifically to you, and you'll just go, "That's messed up. It's messed up." I'll be like,
All right.
"Sorry,
I mean,
sorry."
as artists, I think sometimes I mentioned this before. We're our own worst critics. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies as well because we get really hard on ourselves. Do you ever find yourself trying to compare yourself to other artists, and how do you stop those
Absolutely.
thoughts
I
in your
mean,
head?
I don't know anybody who doesn't, to be honest. I try and remember that, like, one, they have, like, it is their career. You know what I mean? Like, they're not doing this and then this. Like, this is just what they do. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, particularly in the promotional aspects, they they are not the ones sometimes that are even doing the promotional stuff. So you kind of have to just go like, yeah, it'd be cool if I could do that, but like, I don't know how to do that. I'm trying to learn
Right.
like Procreate Dreams right now, so I can like do animation over like my actual videos of art stuff to be like little silly things, and it's so hard. I'm so not used to doing any of this stuff. I suck real bad at it. And so, yeah, and I see people who do stuff. I see like these 18-year-old, you know, these people who could be my children, who have mastered it completely, and I'm very envious of it. But at the same extent, like what I do is what I do is difficult to some people to do too. You have to kind of
Mm-hmm.
look at it like your strengths are your superpowers, and like we all got
Yep.
different superpowers.
Right. Compare, but don't compare. Like I feel when people, how do I say this without sounding like a dick? When people like they try to emulate another artist or they try to compare their work to like, oh, I want to, and I always say this because I'm seeing it so much now, like I want to paint like Basquiat, and then they get hard on themselves because it doesn't look like something he would do. I'm like, doing are you doing it yourself? Yeah, I have the same Funko
Yeah,
Pop, it's still in the box.
Basquiat. Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, and my thing is, are you trying to find your own voice in somebody else's work,
Mm.
or that's where I find that that's the wrong kind of comparison.
I
I
think.
think the
Sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
I think it's a young artist mistake. to try and emulate somebody else because like you're going to grow and turn into your own artist, and in the process of trying to look like someone else's stuff, like you're going to always fail at that because like how you make a nose is how you make a nose, how you make lips is how you make lips, how you make eyes, fingers, you know, it's all how you will. The longer you take to fight against it, the longer it's going to take you to just kind of come into your own.
Right, right. And I mean, it's nice to use it as, you know, um, to find your own voice, but to compare your work and be like, oh, why doesn't mine look like that? I think that's what kills your creativity. But also, I feel like it also discourages you from creating, being more creative and experimenting with art. You know,
Yeah.
like we all find our voices. Like when I was a kid, I always knew I wanted to be an artist. I used to copy, Garfield. I used to draw Garfield all the time because my uncle, while he was in the military, where he was off in Desert Storm, he had all these Garfield books because he really loved Garfield. And so I would look at his Garfield books and I would try to draw Garfield. And I'm like, okay, now I want to try it differently. And I would experiment. And, my other uncle, he was into comic books. So I would try to copy that style. And that's how I learned what I like and dislike. So I mean, there's a right way to compare yourself to another artist, and then there's a wrong way. And I think,
Yeah.
trying to emulate somebody is the wrong way.
Yeah, I've seen so many artists who like they've reached some kind of monochrome of success and kind of basically just kind of stealing somebody else's ideas. And
Mm-hmm.
of all those people, like I can say this in the nicest and meanest way at the same time, but of all those artists that I have known who did that, I'm still here and they are not. You can only
Right.
kind of fake, you can only kind of try to do someone else's work for so long, and if you don't ever try and like get out of that, you're not going to stick with it eventually. Like it's a fine way to learn. Like it's great
Right.
to kind of learn from the stuff that you like and figure out and adapt and grow, but like I've known so many people who hopped on all these like trends of stuff that they were going to do and they didn't really feel inspired ever. And 10 years go by and you're like, "Where are you? What are you doing?" You
Right.
know?
Right.
It's difficult. Like being an artist is hard. Like people
Mm-hmm.
don't admit that. Being an artist is very hard. It's emotionally exhausting. It's physically exhausting. There's health issues.
Financially exhausting.
Financially, there's health issues that sometimes come with it if you're
Mm-hmm.
not properly protecting yourself. Um, all of
I'm
us.
terrible with it.
All of us.
I'm terrible. I have masks and I forget to use them
Yeah,
all the
man.
time.
I've drank so much paint water. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's spicy. It's that spicy water. It's that spicy water.
That's why you're so creative.
It is. I've got paint in my veins, literally,
Literally.
and I have to get it out, otherwise, I'll get sick. No, it's just that stuff though. I think I've known so many people who wanted to be, who wanted to draw like a comic book, who wanted
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, have this kind of surrealist or not surrealist, just weird, strange vibe of like a Picasso or Basquiat or all these things, and I see them do these things to make like their. It goes back to the whole making art just for profit type of thing, where I see them doing this, but like that
Mm-hmm.
work does not stick around, and that work doesn't even stay up long when people get it. Like you think of all the posters you had as a kid, how many of those posters you still got?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it comes
Right.
down. The pins come down off the wall. The poster goes wherever it goes, and then it's gone. You know,
Right.
like a
My
painting that
advice.
somebody really loves. It's like it's framed. It's
Right.
hanging up. It's got all that stuff. It's got lights. That painting's living better than I am. It's got the whole
Right.
thing. It's,
I think my advice to like the younger, artists, because it does seem to be a trend with the younger artists. I mean, I see it too with the older artists, but I see it more with the younger artists. It's just to experiment and have fun. Don't get stuck on what's popular, what's trending, because what's here today is going to be gone tomorrow. And the best thing to do is stick to what you know. As long as you're telling your stories, because nobody could be you.
Right.
So nobody can do your stories but you. Nobody can do things the way you do it. So just stick with doing what you love, what you know, and I think you'll be okay. Don't worry about trying to look like this person or trying to have your work that person. They had their success because they were the only ones doing what they were doing at that time. They're famous for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's not because they were trying to emulate anybody. I mean, Frida's a great example of that because she created her life.
Yeah. But the weird thing, though, a lot of those people don't understand because they don't study those. They don't fully study those people. They see like a unibrow. They see this unibrow woman, and she's holding forceps, and on the other side is her, and it's her heart, and there's blood, and they see that. But then they don't know that like a lot of these artists, like they had one show, their whole lives. They had one what you would deem success. They had one moment. They didn't have Instagram. They didn't have YouTube. They didn't have, they didn't have a local coffee shop they could put their work up at. Like, they didn't have any of those things. They didn't have the ability to put their art on postcards and then send them out as Christmas gifts. They didn't have any of that stuff. The idea that you could make something and someone pin it on their fridge for the rest of their fridge's existence is a huge honor, though. Like, wow. You got the kid spot. You got the kid. You got the kid art spot. You bump that kid off. It's you now. It's yours.
Yep. Take those stick figures down.
Basically,
put my stuff up there.
This stuff. Look at that horrible garbage with your kid's trash art. Get that out of here.
Get that macaroni frame out of here.
Basically, it smells. It smells bad. It smells bad. When you walk past and open your fridge, you just go. Just close it again. It changes your mind about snacking because you're like, I don't want to see that. It's not good.
Yeah. Put it on my fridge.
No, I just think you got to be honest to yourself on stuff. I think a lot of young artists oftentimes inflate the idea that like if they do what you do, then they'll skip steps and they'll be where you are. And it's just like, no, I can make something not like it and keep moving.
Yeah.
You get stuck on that. You go, wait, well, what would he do? How does he do this? And I was like, okay, first of all, the cheat sheet on me, big nose, huge eyebrows, and you just go. You just go from there. Everything else doesn't matter. That's my cliff notes on if you would like to emulate anything I do.
Just get thick eyebrows.
Just thick eyebrows. You want to take that brush and push real hard, and then drag it. No, I tell people, I was like, you can't always afford expensive brushes, so buy a 20-pack and take some scissors.
Right.
Do that if you have to. Get some paper that is nice that you want. I mean, this is obviously my way of doing it. Get some paper that you like or a canvas that you like, and then work off of that and just kind of go for it. Like I said before, the only people who are going to know that you messed up is like the people you tell and you. Like, I've put out there's definitely this is not good to say, but I've definitely put out work throughout the years where like I have not loved it, but I knew that my fan base was going to really like it, so I put it out anyways.
Right.
And they loved it.
They don't know you messed up.
And they loved it.
Yeah.
I still don't like it. It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes the best thing I can say for people is if you have work that you don't like, put it away and then come back to it. And then if you still don't like it, then you definitely don't like it. But you'll oftentimes change your mind about it. Like there's that working and reworking and throwing stuff away and doing all this stuff. And I mean, I don't throw stuff away often, but it does happen because
Right.
you just have to. You have to just give yourself a break at some point. Just be like, you know what, this is crazy. I gotta stop.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess the last question I want to ask you is, do you feel that social media has changed the way you personally create?
It's definitely made me. It's ruined me on the aspect that I'm always trying to figure out. It's like, oh yeah, no, this is a good angle. Let me take a picture. How do I take a picture of myself from a distance, looking like pretending to paint something, and people are like, "Oh man, that's such a good photo," and I'm like, "It's so fake, but okay."
It's so staged.
So staged. There's nothing organic about this. Like I'm just like this, I'm like, and I'm just like, there. You can't see anything from that. I look crazy. I think it's made me try to make art faster, which I
Hmm.
don't like. There's definitely moments where I catch myself and then like I won't post anything for like a month, and like people come up to me like, "Hey man, you okay?" And I'm like, I was just mad at myself for feeling like I just like social media was controlling me, and I
Hmm.
was like, I can't
Hmm.
let that happen. I got too much I got too much pride to think I'm being manipulated. So then I manipulate myself into not doing something. But I'm still making art is the weird thing. Like I'm still making everything. But then yeah, I feel like I'm like I gotta do this. I gotta have this. I gotta this will be really cool. Let me find a good font to do this with and then show people. I think now I purposely don't take good photos though because I there was a guy who was trying to steal some of my work and I was like I'll never make a good photo for you to print off ever
Wow. Well,
again.
that is a problem. I do know an artist who is having their work stolen that they painted, that's being sold on another website, Redbubble, and Timu. And I can't believe that they have the audacity to take work from artists and resell it and be like, oh yeah, I did this. Like, no, you didn't. I will always go on there and I'll start be like, this is stolen art, and it will always remove my comments
I try not
to
to
the point
look
that
anymore. I
I
try
think
not to look
two
up
of
stuff
them
because I'm just like,
blocked
if it's
me.
happening, I'll just be like, oh, I want to find you and like congratulate you with my hands. Um,
Yeah. Somebody says social media does make a creative feel like you need to keep up with the turnover rate because short attention spans works have these days. Yes.
but you have to eventually just not care, and that's
Right.
I celebrate apathy as much as I possibly can. Where like somebody goes, yeah, you want to post like 2 times a day, and I'm just like, man, get out of my face.
Who has time for that?
Yeah, I
I'm
was like,
grown. I got
no. I
bills.
was like, sure, I'll take pictures of my cats. That's what you'll get. It'll just be cat
And
butts.
that will get more likes than my paintings.
Exactly. That's my biggest fear. That like taking pictures of the cats, people be like, man, this cat channel is amazing. All the likes, all the follows. Do it, do it, do it. And I'm just be like, but what about the things? Like, just
Right.
there's a painting, right? No, you're gone. Okay.
I definitely think that social media is a blessing and a curse for artists because I guess the blessing is a lot of you'll get a lot of reach for people who probably don't know about your work is actually seeing your work, but then there's that other pressure that you got to be like a content creator now, and you got to stage, your studio got to look like it belongs on Pinterest, and you got to look presentable. Like, nah, this is me. Look, I look crazy. I don't care because I'm about to go to bed after this. I don't care.
No worry
I
about
am going
nothing.
to be 44. I don't care how I look. Okay? Are you here for me or are you here for my art? Because I care about that.
Well, they love these artists though who look crazy anyway. So it's kind of one of those weird things where it's like, who am I? What am? So I've made up these people in my head who are judgmental, and then I'm performing for those made up people in my head.
Yeah, I do that
Like
too.
no one cares. No one is looking at this. This is I think the saddest thing about most stuff. I think the worst thing is the for like the reels. You get that audio every once in a while that's like, I'm just making this for the 2 people who are gonna like it, and you're
Yeah.
like, as you're just kind of scratching through it, like, damn it, three people better like this. I can't take this anymore.
I think it could be very stressful, especially for people who use social media as its only means of, word of mouth. Because, they're like, oh, I'm only getting 2 likes, there's only this, I have all these followers. But you gotta understand, sometimes your followers are following, like, a lot of other people.
Yeah,
So
they may
it's
never
probably
actually
your
see your
stuff
work
that.
again.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I mean, it feels like you got to keep up with the Jones and follow a chaotic algorithm. Oh my God, the algorithm, yeah. At some point, you got to find your own rhythm and peace. Exactly.
You just gotta
Exactly. You
strangle
got to
that
find your
once. That's what it is.
peace. Yeah, I'm gonna find
Um,
a piece of my hands around that piece of neck of yours.
I just wanna hug you. I just wanna hug you with my fingers. Um, it's
And I guess that's that balance again. Like, I think a lot of people have that pressure, creating artwork for yourself or creating work for yourself and for people. Me personally, I create it for myself. If you like it,
I think the best
cool. You
work
don't
is
like
stuff that
it,
I made for me.
cool.
Yeah, I think
You
the
as
best work is
well.
the stuff I make for me.
Right.
I
Right.
feel like
I think
it's
it's
so much more
definitely a different
honest.
connection.
Yeah. Well, it's just honest, you know? It's one of those like I felt yellow that day. I felt like that blue.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
The blue.
that blue. Um, yeah, it's just that thing. You have to. I don't know. You have to figure out. You have to find a balance. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
nice. I think social media is nice. It's good because like I've met all these amazing artists, and I have all these friends that I otherwise wouldn't have run into in my own little circles of like two people, and all that stuff. But in the other aspect, like there's damage. There's definitely damage from it. Like for every time that you start to do something cool and then somebody does some troll thing around you on
Mm-hmm.
social media and like all the great stuff you do gets kind of pushed to the side and you just focus on that one thing and you can't let it go. You try to let it go and you can't let it go and you think about responding and you it's hard. It's really hard. Like I'm definitely not good at always letting stuff go. I
Right.
definitely I'm definitely always worried I'm going to end up getting banned on one of these social medias for the things that I say back to people. Um, but sometimes you just I don't know. I think it gives us all a little bit of a complex. Uh,
Yeah, definitely.
the best thing somebody ever said to me was you did something and it got 20 likes on it. Now imagine if you were hanging it up at a place and you were having a show and 20 people
Mm-hmm.
came up to tell you they liked it. How good would you
Yep.
feel then? You'd be like, the
Right.
line's just
Exactly.
endless. This is every people are coming from outside.
Yeah.
This is amazing. If 1,000 people came up to you to tell you, it'd be overwhelming.
Oh,
You'd just
right.
be like, I gotta
Right.
go. I gotta get
And
out of
that
here.
is success.
Yeah,
Even if it's 5 people,
that's
at least
huge.
five there's people out there who have work that no one's seen.
Yeah,
And there's people who are drawing and their asses off, but they don't want to show nobody, or maybe they're just a dick themselves.
yeah.
And, they're not, and nobody wants to deal with them. So you just,
It's hard to. I think it's hard sometimes when you look at because originally social media felt like it was such like something I could draw inspiration off of.
mm-hmm,
And as time has gone by, like it doesn't happen as much. Sometimes not
mm-hmm.
at all for like months. I don't feel inspired by anything, like anything outside of the world, inside of the things, and all this stuff. And I don't feel anything. And that's why I do like abstract paintings, and I do things as like exercises to keep myself kind of going and moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a lot of ways you kind of have to figure out how to not let it drive you mad. It's
Right,
so easy to let it just lose your mind in it, and
right,
you kind of have
right.
to figure out not to.
And because, we're with our work most of the time, and we know how hard we work. And so when you have some troll come in and say something, it bothers you. I learned to let it go through one ear, out the other. I ignore them because the more you give them attention, it's like feeding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, I
You
let my
know,
fans attack them sometimes. I just go
yeah,
like I just kind of just pull
I just
back, and
let
I'm
my
like
fans,
somebody else will deal with this.
I just let other people do with it because I don't got time for that.
I was
Like you
like,
obviously got time for that. I
tons of my
don't.
friends and fans have lots of attitude, so I'm just like, I will let them deal with you because they do not suffer fools, and so I don't need to.
Yeah, and my family is up on Instagram, so they got me. So
Pretty much, yeah.
I
You
just go
get
about
you
my
get you see one
business.
of them in the comments. Hey man, hit me your zip code real quick, and you're like, pull it back, and you're like, no, 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 no. You don't have to do all that. You don't have to do all that. It's not that serious.
Yeah, it's
You don't
not
have to
that
do all that. You don't
serious.
need to square up with somebody in real life to make this better. It's fine.
Yeah, it's
Just
just
let it
like
go. Let it go. It's
they
fine.
got nothing else to do with themselves, or they're bored, so they
Yeah.
just feel like
I'm like,
going
it's not
around
that
trolling
serious. Especially
people.
because like
You're too busy
my family's
for
made up of like
that.
giants. Like half of my family are like 6'10" and stuff like that. So I'm like, yeah, you'll be all right. You know what?
Yeah.
You probably had a bad day, and this made you
Right?
feel like you were on top of the world. Go for
Yeah.
it.
Good for you. I just that. Good for you. Just
If
you
I
feel
see you in
good
the street,
now.
I'm
You need
gonna
a
slide
nap.
kick you, but it's fine.
All right.
It's like, but if I
So you feel good
but if
now.
I catch you in the streets, it's a different story. No.
Yeah. you know, you might get fucked up with a bag of nickels.
Yeah, you might find out real quick that I'm old, but I can move fast. You know, I got that sprint in me. I got that sprint in me for 5 seconds. No, I just tell people I'm like just let it go, man. It's one of those things. I think the best thing anyone ever told me was you carry this with you. How does it help you? And if it
Mhm.
doesn't, you gotta let it go.
Mhm. Mhm. Exactly.
So
You just gotta let it go.
yeah,
Don't
I
worry
mean,
about
is
it.
it helping you with your painting? No. Then
Nope.
what are you doing?
Right. Right. Exactly. Well, thank you for being a part of the show again and coming back.
Thank you.
So, where can people find your work?
I mean, here on Instagram, there's Jaws underscore Blake. That's me. And then there's on YouTube, I got all those videos that I'm waiting for everybody to watch. Painter Files. So it's Painter and then Files. On YouTube, that's the name of the channel. And yeah, there's lots of cool stuff. There's links and everything in all those places. And
And there's
if you want to
also
get a book, I got 4 of these left. So hit me up. Um, yes, yes. Yeah, and
there's also the Painter's Breakfast.
there's Painter's Breakfast. I have a morning show on Mondays in which I eat food messily and have a conversation with whomever. I mean, I have like a weird dialogue that I have, but I also have conversations with people. And sometimes we have breakfast together. Sometimes people come in with like face stuff, and we just have breakfast together. And it's been from like all over the world. On occasion, I've gotten people from Australia. I've gotten people from the U.S. I've gotten people from like Peru at one point in time. It was really cool, actually.
Wow.
Um, One person accidentally answered when they were on the toilet, so that was weird. You never know. You never know. It's whenever it happens. It's whenever it happens. Um, it was one of those like, oh no, and then they blinked out type of thing, and it was just
It's like, ooh, booty cheeks. Nope, don't thank you.
yeah, it was like wow, all right, well, spicy. It's a spicy
Enjoy your
breakfast.
poop.
This is spicy breakfast. This is spicy breakfast.
Well, thank you again for joining me.
Yeah, yeah.
So next Tuesday, I'll be joined by Painter. It's another rewind.
There's more of us.
Another is Jess Owens Young is going to be joining me. And then we're going to finish off December with Jen Davis. And I haven't planned out January yet, but I might bring back some familiar faces in January as well. And also, there is more Creative Lounge coming. I just been so busy with work and the holidays that haven't thought about anything yet, but I might come do an episode with art supplies for artists that you can get for Christmas. So that's going to be a Creative Lounge episode that I'm working on.
Very cool. Well, thank you for letting me be on your show. This is always one of my favorite
Yes.
shows. So
Oh, thank you.
absolutely.
I hope to have you on again. Maybe we can do a Creative Lounge and talk all about culture and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love that.
That'd be awesome. And maybe eat like some Like I can maybe make arepas or something. I don't know. I'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. We'll figure something out.
I'll figure something. Or even do a studio visit because you're in Maryland. You're
Yeah,
not
I'm in
that
Maryland,
far from
so,
me.
yeah.
About 2 hour drive, I think.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
So we'll figure it out.
Cool, cool.
Well, thank you, everyone. I will see you next Tuesday with Just Owen Youngs.
Thank you much.
Young. Sorry, it's time for bed. Goodbye.
Been around. Ciao. Hi, Galeras. Thank you so much for staying with this. This is really fun, actually. I really enjoyed that. So I'm glad I got to share with you. I'll talk to you later. Been around. Ciao. Bye.